Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 752. Warning. 160 Beauclun Street. In the sunny study. The bookshelves were orderly arranged with a huge collection. At a glance, one appeared as though they had stepped into a private library. Klein sat on a high-backed chair as he read the newspapers. He discovered that be it the Tussock Times or the Beauclun Daily Tribune, there was an additional advertisement in a striking spot. It advertised selling 10% of the Beauclun Bike Company's shares. Mr. Stanton is rather efficient. It's only been a few days, and he has completed the financial checks and evaluation. Klein silently reflected on the matter when his spiritual perception was triggered. He quickly activated his spirit vision and saw Rionette Tinker walk out of the void. She still held the 4 blonde, red-eyed heads in her hand, with one of them having a letter in its mouth. It's likely a reply from Miss Sharon. As Klein had these thoughts, he reached out to receive it and nodded. Thank you. As he spoke, he subconsciously glanced at the door because standing outside was his valet, Richardson. After tearing open the envelope and unfolding the letter, Klein quickly scanned it, confirming that it was written by Sharon. She indicated that she had no intention of buying biological poison bottle, and she might only consider it after a period of time if it was still available. She's in a tight financial situation? Or is she saving money to do something important? Klein casually thought, and instinctively felt that it was the latter. This was because it was impossible for the demigod named Zatwin to keep staying in Beauclun. For now, Sharon and Merrick had escaped the pursuit of the Rose School of Thought, and with their beyonder powers and unique traits about their sequences, it wasn't difficult for them to amass money in a relaxed environment. Furthermore, they seemed to be in charge of the illegal arms dealing in the Bravehearts bar, and they were the backers behind Ian. Just this alone would make them plenty of money. As he thought about it, Klein looked up and saw Miss Messenger's 8 red eyes looking at him intently. He jumped in fright, imagining that she was urging him to pay the debt he owed her. He cleared his throat and said, "There's no need to reply. I'll be paying the first installment within the week." Rionette Tinker's 4 heads spoke one after another. "There's no rush, there's no interest. Miss Messenger is quite nice after all." As Klein sighed, Rionette Tinker vanished from her spot, returning back into the depths of the spirit world. After burning the letter and resting for half an hour, he walked to the door to inform Richardson to prepare the carriage. He planned on heading to the cathedral before his philosophy class in the afternoon. The journey there was smooth sailing, and Klein arrived at the square outside St. Samuel Cathedral after a few sips of tea. After gaining the serenity from taking in the sights of the pigeons, he strode towards the cathedral's main door, entered the prayer hall, and randomly found a pew to sit at. Like before, Richardson sat diagonally behind him with his master's hat and cane. As he emptied his mind during his prayers, Klein's spiritual perception was triggered once again. He instinctively opened his eyes and looked left. He saw the black-haired, green-eyed Leonard Mitchell. This nighthawk wasn't wearing a trench coat. He looked casual with his white shirt tucked out while matching them with straight trousers and a black vest. Seeing the middle-aged man with gray streaks at his sideburns look at him, he smiled with a nod, retracted his gaze, and closed his eyes in a bid to pretend to pray. He wasn't worried that the man would discover that he was watching him, because he had only done a cursory sweep without any additional actions. Many believers present had similar actions as well. It was inevitable for a good-looking, dignified gentleman to attract some attention when he entered. Leonard Mitchell was someone who often attracted such attention, so he knew this very well. At this moment, the slightly aged voice sounded in his mind. "It's him. He didn't make my hard work of running over to the cathedral yesterday, and today be in vain." Leonard thought smugly as his expression remained stoic. Klein was also pretending to pray as puzzlement surfaced in his thinking mind. When did this fellow, Leonard, become so pious? Although he's definitely more pious than me, he's not the kind of person who would come to the cathedral every day. He would come once or twice a week at best. What's his goal for coming? He seemed to be observing me just now. Upon having this thought, Klein suddenly realized something. The grandpa in him is the angel of the Zoroast family, which makes him an angel of the Marauder pathway. Blasphemer Amon is a king of angels of this pathway. He could discover the gray fog and even tried to infiltrate it. So, it's very possible that the grandpa and Leonard can also sense the gray fog or the traces of its powers on me. Upon making this judgment, Klein immediately felt his heart in his throat. He felt like dangerous traps were surrounding him. He maintained his praying posture, and the eyes under his eyelids remained motionless. His entire person was calm and reserved, completely identical to the cathedral's atmosphere. After an unknown period of time, he slowly got up and walked to the altar. He came before the donation box and threw in a total of £50 in cash. Following that, he did the same as before, smiling at the bishop and priest on duty while nodding. He received a rather friendly response. The moment he walked out of St. Samuel Cathedral, Klein received his hat from Richardson, and he fed the pigeons on the square for about 10 minutes. And behind him, the believers who had finished their prayers walked out, including Leonard Mitchell. Without looking at the entrance, Klein leisurely clapped his hands, took his gold-inlaid cane, and walked to the nearby four-wheeled carriage. Leonard was similarly feeding the pigeons on the square, but he didn't have any intention of following when he saw his target leave on the carriage. Since the person had an ancient aura and that the parasite in him placed such importance on him, he obviously didn't dare to be careless. He didn't act directly, as it was extremely dangerous. He planned on making superficial investigations to gather the required intelligence. I'll see what old man has to say when the time comes. Besides, it's not like there's no direction for investigation at the moment. There can't be that many of that particular type of high-end carriage in Backland. No matter if it's his, or if it's rented, it's easy to determine the source. Then I'll know the identity and background of that gentleman. Leonard glanced at the pigeons as he thought leisurely. He was an experienced nighthawk, and he was even an elite red glove among the nighthawks. At this moment, a pigeon spread its wings and flew over. In its beak there appeared to be a paper slip. Leonard frowned as he reached out his left palm and saw the pigeon fly down before dropping the slip. Then, it flapped its wings and flew off. Raising the paper slip, Leonard warily unfolded it while feeling puzzled. He saw 2 lines of text on it. Zoroast. Parasite. This? Leonard's pupils suddenly constricted as he felt all his hair stand up. His emotions nearly exploded at that very instant. That gentleman has seen through my secret? As expected of someone with an ancient aura. He might be one of the undying monsters that remain from the 4th epoch. He's warning me? That I shouldn't involve myself in his matters or even come close to him? At that moment, Leonard felt that every action the middle-aged man with white sideburns and blue eyes had done had left him shocked when he recalled them. He was someone not to be looked at directly or approached. He immediately lost all thoughts of investigating the man. As he watched the pigeons land, he said with a suppressed voice, "Old man, he might be an old friend of yours. If you wish to investigate, then it's best that you wait till your strength recovers." Old friend. The slightly aged voice repeated the 2 words as though he found it suspect but couldn't be certain. Leonard quickly converged his emotions and chuckled. "So you're someone from the Zoroast family?" At this moment, about 100 meters away, at the intersection of Phelps Street and the other streets, the black-haired Dwayne Dantes, who had streaks of gray hair, leaned onto the wall as he slowly closed his eyes, hiding his wrinkled facial features in the shadows of the carriage. To the side of his valet, Richardson, a middle-aged man wearing a dark red coat and old triangular hat, appeared, bowing to his master before disappearing. No one saw this illusory figure. The carriage slowly turned as a flock of pigeons flew up from the square. After returning home and entering the room with the huge balcony, the silent Klein finally heaved a silent sigh of relief. If Leonard didn't accept the warning because of the grandpa's bewitchment, he planned on writing another slip with the contents. "I know where Blasphemer Amon is." In between the lines, it means I'll tell Blasphemer Amon that there's a Zoroast family angel here if you foil my plans. This wouldn't make the grandpa believe that Dwayne Dantes was so weak that he had to rely on others to fend him off. It was more of a friendly warning that wouldn't number beyond 3 times, a form of respect towards an angel. If 2 warnings weren't enough to rein him in, there was no other choice but to inform Blasphemer Amon. Yes, there's a very high chance that this would scare them. There must be other ploys or difficulties for this grandpa to choose to parasitize in such a shallow manner. He likely doesn't wish for me to flip the table. Heh, this matter is all thanks to Rhodes. If he hadn't informed me ahead of time that Leonard has a marauder angel, I definitely wouldn't have noticed that I'd been targeted, much less have the suitable excuse and method to warn them. Klein thought calmly and didn't show the anxiety or flustered state from before. As he relaxed, there was a knock on the door. His valet, Richardson, said, "Sir, the butler wishes to seek an audience with you. Please invite him in." Klein left the balcony and returned to the half-open room. The white-gloved Walter entered and said, "Sir, your philosophy teacher, Mr. Hamid, is here." Philosophy classes. Klein rubbed his aching temples. He had previously heard from Walter that Mr. Hamid was a believer of the Lord of Storms. It was the same for the famous scholar, Lumi, as well. Many of the philosophers in the Lone Kingdom shared the same faith. This made him rather surprised because, to him, believers in the storm were irascible brothers. From the looks of it, I have to change my stereotypes and subjective impressions. The prerequisite to being a philosopher is to not have a wife, or not have a cordial relationship with their families. As Klein lampooned, he straightened his clothes and walked to the door. He said to butler Walter, "All right, I'll head over there now."